Thank you. I'm excited to speak here tonight. Drum strong-armed me. Let me know I was a speaker, so I'm a speaker. I was, either way, it's like a Madonna thing. I'll just do this. I love these conferences. You get in these big hotels and you wear the name tags. It's kind of like you go down the elevator, and this one's a small one, but a lot of times you're in these big hotels and there's several conferences going on at once. And you're like, oh man, what team are you on? So I've gone to the ASEV, so people say, what is that? American Society of Enology and Viticulture. Okay, what's that? Winemakers and grape growers are like, oh, I like you. What's that? That's the North American Association of Regulatory Prosecutor Actuarial. I don't like you. So I like being an IPPS, a plant propagator. If people ask, what do? You say, well, I put roots on plants. Okay. But I don't think that's very fair. We'll get to that. I think we do a lot more than that. Here in Modesto, we toured horticulture. We went up and down the valley, and up and down the valley. we do nothing small when we're with Duram. We toured world-class nurseries. We toured genetic centers. We toured food processing. You toured spoon processing, germplasm repositories. It's quite amazing. It's very obvious that the Central Valley of California feeds the world. And we do an incredibly good job of it, and our nursery sector here and our genetics work here in the Central Valley is a critical part of feeding the world. We're also here in Modesto, and that's important. Modesto and Turlock irrigation districts are the two oldest public irrigation districts in the state. They were dug with horses and whatever the horse was dragging, or mules actually, back in the 1880s. These canals were dirt. Before there was diesel tractors, we had irrigated agriculture coming down from the mountains. It's a big thing because that's why we have the largest canneries, the largest wineries in the world here. That's why so many agricultural secretaries disproportionately are from Modesto. Lings and Venemans and Lions. The great Central Valley of California feeds the world, and it started feeding the world right here in Modesto, right here in Stanislaus County. And I think that's a great reason to bring this group here this week. We're also here because Duram raised his hand. Yeah, and we're going to go with him on it. And he drug us in, and he got us to take it to a new level. He got us to do the awards. That was a new thing Duram brought us. The program's a little thicker than it usually is, and we've got great abstracts. And I'm thankful because couldn't get to all the sessions, but I got to read about everyone speaking and what was being spoken. I think having a very complete program made this better, but I think honoring the gentleman we're honoring tonight is really a special touch. So I think it is good whenever we take whatever we do to a new level, and I think we did that this week. So thank you, Duram. We thought we kept you busy enough. Apparently we didn't. So we'll work on that. So really impressed meeting the educated folks here today. I'm hearing, one young lady had 2 master's degrees. What the hell's with that? Come on. 2. We have PhDs. We have multi-generation family farmers, and nursery people. Really an esteemed community of people you have here today, and pulling together and seeking and sharing knowledge about what we do is incredibly important. I was real thankful to kind of get what's going on here. My education, I didn't get a hort degree. I kind of strayed. I grew up in the business. My grandfathers were orchardists. My father was a nurseryman. I went and got a finance degree, and then I got an MBA. So I'm not a horticulturalist by education. I had to read it on the street. But if you hang around business communities too long, you'll eventually have this metaphor in some leadership conference or some management seminar where they talk about the stone cutter. And they talk about the stone cutter cutting stones. Someone asks him, hey, what do you do? He says, I cut stones. And he thinks about it and goes, no, I don't cut stones. I'm a builder. I'm a stonemason and I'm a builder. And you know what? I'm not just a builder. I build cathedrals. And those cathedrals inspire people through their spirituality to be greater than they could have been. Or those cathedrals shock people with their excess and awe and just scare them into being better people. But whatever they do, that cathedral and its effect on people is what I'm about. I'm not a stonecutter. And I think that if we look at our industry and say, do we really just put roots on plants? Is that really what we do? That's not very good. In the elevator, it's better than the actuarial litigation specialist, but it's not great. What we really do, I call it the greatest good. When you look at horticulture and the industry we support, we were the beginning of civilization. When people started farming and eating, cultivating plants and predicting what those plants would do, they started eating better. And we know today that the societies that have more food, that have more horticulture, and horticulture is the expandable, sustainable food source we have on the planet. We're already screaming at us over cows. Almonds, walnuts, pistachios, nut crops, those are the new protein. That's the new chicken, the new pork. And we're seeing them expand to meet demand globally, right here from Modesto. And so we really are the greatest good in the world. There's nothing that can step in front of horticulture and what we do and say, we do more for people than horticulture. And so I'm proud to be part of that. The other thing we do in horticulture is what I call the greater perfection. There was a landscape enthusiast, Francis Cabot, who lives in the Quebec area, who took up an enthusiasm for gardening, and he put together a gorgeous garden. It's probably 150 acres. I don't know how he paid for it. I don't think it was selling grapevines. But he called the name of the book The Greater Perfection. And it's actually a quote from Francis Bacon, who developed the modern scientific method as well as the common law, one of the real great intellects of all time. And he was comparing, the reason it became the greater perfection, he was comparing architecture and science and engineering to landscaping. And he said, of all those things, I believe landscaping is the greater perfection. And the greater perfection also refers to what we do to make things tastier, better, more beautiful. We can feed the world with grain. It's not very fun. But we seek sweeter varieties. We seek varieties that ship better and deliver a better experience to growers, to consumers all over the world. So I think that when you look at what we do, we have to look at the greatest good in the world that we do, and we have to look at the greater perfection that we constantly pursue. And it's, at the end of the day, the plants grow or they don't grow, and we've got to know what rooting hormone to put on them. But what inspires us should be bigger than that, and I think it is for many of us. I think that we've honored, and I call them great living cathedralists tonight. We've honored 3 men who've made a difference, and they've not only made a difference putting roots on plants, they've made a difference in seeing how what we do can be different and better. Bill Burchell. Now I'm kind of new to the tree and vine industry compared to the Burchells. And I've gone to some of the meetings over some of the years. And every time I go, there's Bill Burchell. Bill Burchell, back before we had the Clean Plant Network, with government funding coming in from the federal farm bill, giving us foundation sources and giving us federal support for foundation support sources in our tree crops and in our grape crops. Bill was there setting egos aside, setting the competitive issues aside of the day, and believing, perhaps implausibly at the time, that we could pull together as an industry and we could make a cleaner foundation source for the industry. And I congratulate that, because it's the improbable, the implausible, the unobvious that takes us to the next level. Floyd Zager. I think you could say he's probably the most famous living stone fruit breeder in the world. Now, most of the world in the future will not have to suffer a fruit bowl without plum cots, apriums, pluots, or dinosaur eggs in it, thanks to Floyd Zager and his family's work. And that sounds great. He's made a nice business of it. But the important thing about that to me is it's forever. Nobody ever said plum cots were going to happen sooner or later. They happened because somebody made them happen and saw something completely different. And the world's going to enjoy these interspecific hybrids for a long time. And they're going to rethink what breeding means. My dad, Jim Duarte, was a labor contractor, and for about 10 years he planted crops and he picked them. And he found out after a while, if you're paying attention to what you're doing, which we hope we're doing, you find out, boy, what you plant really makes a big difference to what you pick. And so he decided he wanted to go into the grapevine nursery business, and he sought the best stock possible, and it turns out there was one vine of Cabernet, one vine of Chardonnay, one vine. And he knew that there was an absolute omnipotent imperative that we deliver the cleanest, the most productive stock available to our growers. And although a nursery looked like one thing with a field nursery and bare root vines and cuttings and millions of cuttings going in, that's not going to happen. We can't get there with one grapevine of Cabernet, one grapevine of Chardonnay. We'll wait 5 or 10 years to get this virus-free material into the industry. So he said, we're going to develop a mist propagated system, and we're going to sell potted grapevines because that's the way we can deliver the best available stock today. Complete faith that the market would follow the science. We don't care what an artifact of a grapevine or a tree is supposed to look like. We care about the performance of what we sell to our customer and the production systems and the product formats, and the market demand will follow what's truly important. So these are gentlemen who saw things completely different. And we're an old industry, and we thank these gentlemen for seeing it different and taking us to the new level. So what are we going to do? God, it's all done. Not hardly. Not hardly. We got a lot to do. There's, it's just a great time to be a propagator. We all chose to go into horticulture and play here. We know what we do impacts our customers in a huge way, and we know it's important. We know farmers need clean plant material. We know they need clean, high-performance plant material. We know that humans want clean, attractive landscape environments, and we innovate for competitiveness, and we step on each other, and we hire each other's employees, and we do all those things. But you know what? None of it really matters when you compare to the impact we have over time. 20 years, all the patents are expired. In 40 years, most of us are retired, not Floyd Zager, Bill Birchall, or my dad. But a lot of us will be. I think each of these gentlemen started really getting going about the time most public employees retire nowadays. I know my dad started Duarte Nursery at 53. I said, wow, if you're a cop, you'd be done. So anyways, so what do we need? Where's the next steps? I have some suggestions. We have model clean plant systems. In grapes and in prunus, we've got great clean plant systems. But we've barely started. We look at crops that we sell millions of dollars of nursery stock a year. Look at walnuts, pistachio, avocado. Those are cowboy crops. We don't have a foundation source for them. We don't have a virus-free resource for them. We don't even have a chain of custody here in California, where these crops are the largest anywhere in the world, that gives us secure access to what is a Chandler walnut. We don't have a foundation plant source for Chandler walnut or pistachio or for avocado. We have a lot of work to go, and those are the crops that come to mind. There's many, many other crops. When we look around the world and we know the impacts of clean plant systems and foundation systems on our industry, and where it was 30 or 40 years ago in terms of virus and bud failure and problems that we've worked our way out of here in California, we can only imagine what these approaches, what foundation source approaches and clean plant approaches can do in the developing world to niche crops, tropical crops, local crops. There's a lot of work to be done there. We're not even done in California. The rest of the world is without high-level foundation sources. So we're hardly done there. What Bill did in California, somebody's got to do globally. We look at the issues of plant movement internationally. We've got the General Agreement on Tariffs and Trade, where they say we're going to take a systems approach to plant movement. Well, a systems approach means we're going to define all the things that might be a problem. And then we're going to let the sending country tell us how they're not going to be a problem. We have better technology than that. We can put things in a test tube in small excisions. We can send it to a biocontainment facility. We can contain it. We can deep sequence it. We can find out every biological thing happening in that excision. And if it's not perfectly clean, we can ask for another one and destroy it. But right now, we're relying on government officials from governments we don't know much about to send us a phytosanitary certificate, tell us everything's okay. A lot of work to be done there. There's a lot of work to be done there. Clonal production in crops. It's amazing, you toured some tree nurseries this week. 15 years ago, I would guess less than 25% of nut trees produced in California, which I believe is a technical lead in the world, were clonal. Today, I would be surprised if 25% of the nut trees produced in California are seedling and not clonal. That's happened within 15 years. And there's more crops to go. There's more landscape crops to go. I was talking to Steve, they're doing it. It's happening fast. So, a lot of advances to be made. We've got horticultural systems that we serve that aren't sustainable under current labor situation. You won't have labor in California. It's not a matter of public policy. We've got guys that won't move on labor bills and we're frustrated by it. And we need more Mexican people to come in here and help us with our labor. But our problems aren't even political long term. They're demographic. Mexico's industrializing. Mom's not having 5 to 7 kids. The 1 or 2 kids mom's having in Mexico, they're getting jobs in Mexico. We're not going to have labor long term in our markets. So the things that are going to solve this are horticultural moonshots, I call them. The dried on the vine raisin system was a horticultural moonshot. It was a combination of farming systems, trellis systems, mechanization, and genetics. Right now, the Michigan researchers and the Washington State researchers are developing stemless cherry genetics to go on top of hedgerow rootstock genetics to go into mechanization of cherry harvest. It's wild. So these moonshots are going to demand a lot of us. They're going to demand our work on the genetic component. They're going to demand our work. They're looking at doing over-the-row harvesting of almonds now. So we have to rethink almond rootstocks, almond varieties, spacing, planting, densities. That's all coming back to us. So I'm very happy we're an old industry. I think we're the oldest industry. I'm also very happy to be a propagator. I think there's a lot of advantages, a lot of things we can take on in front of us. I think there's a lot of empty chairs for future honorees. And I'm very thankful to be able to address you tonight. Thank you for your attention. Thank you, Duram, for roping us all in. Go forward and propagate.